it's up in the millions. I also have some good bows. You don't realize how important bows are, besides getting married to ladies. I found that of all the big makers, the bows that seemed to match my instrument were made by an English maker named Tubbs. And I have 3 Tubbs bows. This is the bow. It's not fancy, but it pulls just the right sound out of the instruments. And that's what you look for. You mate them. You mate your bows to your violin. This, I have a copy. I had a copy made of this. It's just interesting. I don't carry that around. You can see why. Look at the 2. You'll see. This is the real one. This is the copy. And he even copied every little flaw. Look at the back.
Amazing.
The copy is the one that goes out with me. It doesn't sound the same. He couldn't reproduce that, but he sure reproduced the appearance. And it's not bad, and as I've had it a long time, as it ages like a good wine, it sounds better. So this is made by a man named Robert Trustley. He was a maker around town. He made a good one. The scroll isn't as good. He didn't quite manage that, but this is the copy, and this is the one that goes traveling off to school. And that's another one of my Tubbs bows. There's one there, there's one there. That's the fake. And this is the one that goes traveling and has a nice light case. That's heavy. That is a leather case. This one stays here. And it is heavy, but this is quite light. And when you go out with an instrument, this is protection, yeah, but carrying this is much easier, especially if you're doing it this way, which you have to do sometimes if you're in a car or subway or something, you know. It's not heavy, but that is. These are some things that I'm just amused at. I love this, his master's voice. It was my Uncle Emil, my brother's uncle, my mother's uncle, who is my great-uncle, Emil Berliner, who was the inventor of the Victor talking machine.
That's amazing.
Well, it is amazing. I agree with you. He was an inventor. He and a gentleman named Thomas Edison were fighting over their different inventions all the time, who got the first one out, and, you know. And so he was the inventor of the Victrola, and that was the original Victrola. And I love this. His master's voice, you see, that famous dog was happy, but this dog is not happy. And people have given me these things over the years, which I like. Amusing. Lucy plays the violin. Well, my girl cat's name is Lucy, you see.
That's great.
When you teach a 3-year-old, you have to understand what is possible for a 3-year-old to concentrate on. Okay. Put out your hand. Okay, you could do that when you're little. If I asked you to put out your hand, you could do that. Okay, I'm going to hold your finger. That's a bow hold. Then you say, okay, now you hold my finger. And you didn't do it so well, but you say, you know what I mean. You might do it better. And you play with the kid. And then after they finally get this thing, then you put a bow in their hand. And you start with the bow and do games with the bow. You start with the bow with the 3-year-old. And then the violin, you have to put up yourself for the child for a long time. And even hold the scroll at first. And then finally they get the strength and the ability to keep it there. And then you're manipulating the child basically all the time at the beginning. And then after a little while you go tucka, 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 okay, you do it by yourself, and they do tucka, 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 and they're on their way. That's the beginning rhythm you teach, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 4 fast, 2 slow. It's the beginning. Children can do that. There's only one really good way of playing the violin well. You can't, you may have different concepts of postural things, but the problem is that the instrument itself, you have to get the bow across those strings, and those strings stopped at different points, or you're not playing the violin. There's no 2 ways of doing it, you might say it. Now, some people are more flexible. People with different fingers make a huge difference in the quality of sound. The fat, juicy finger gets a fat, juicy sound. And some people have different flexibility by nature, the way they're put together. And as I say, fat makes a difference. Flesh. The juicy finger gets a juicy sound on the string. Skinny, bony fingers. Sound is harder to get for people like that. They can do it, but you then have to do what I did, flatten your fingers to get the fattest place on your finger. So every person you teach, you have to teach according to their physiology. You can't have just one way of teaching everybody. The way I hold my thumb and the way someone else holds their thumb is going to be different. I happen to have a hand with a very low set thumb and a long thumb. That's not a usual hand, but it's not uncommon. So I'm going to hold my bow differently, slightly, and my manipulation of fingers on the strings is going to be one thing that somebody else may have less trouble or more trouble. And the length of your arms in relation to the body and length of the instrument, I mean, all of this is so individual. Well, you think of sports. You're a tennis player. Okay, you're 6 feet tall. You're going to be a different tennis player if you're only 5'7", even. Your stroke is going to be different. Your stroke's going to be different. You look at it and see what you've got there to work with, and when you give them their first instruments, real instruments, because we start with what we call a pre-violin. We let the children make it. Cigar box with a ruler, as a for instance, just to hold this thing up. This is a ridiculous posture if you think about it. Who in life goes around this way? This is pretty natural, but this, ridiculous. So you have to build yourself into the instrument in a way, and each child is built differently. One of the hardest things, though, of course, is pitch. You have to manufacture your pitch. Your piano, everybody plunks down the same thing. No matter, you can't change the pitch. It's going to plunk down